Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Up Supercast Game Club. My name is Brandon, and I am your host. And joining me today, I have Will.
More like Terranigma my balls.
And I have Ills.
Jeez, I can't... What? We're not getting Illusion of Gaia, too. That's the thing.
Oh, don't remind us. And we have Noah.
Hey there, big guy.
This week on the Game Club, we restored the world from the beginning. We created the whole world.
The heavens and the earth.
Everything. We did it all. The good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly, everything. We did it all. When we played Terranigma on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
The Super NES, as it's also known as. I won't call it any other names. And this game was released back in 1995 in Japan, in 1996 in Europe, or PAL regions.
Brandon?
Never released in America. Yes, sir.
I was going to say, where is America?
Where is America? America is in this game.
Yeah.
Resurrected.
But it is not, this game never came out in America.
Yeah.
Reason being, from what I understand, was Enix, the publisher of this game. Mm-hmm. They had shut down their American branch at the time. This was also a very late release on the Super Nintendo. The N64, I believe, when it came out in Europe in December of '96, it was already out. The N64 was already out in America and Japan. Mm-hmm. Not out in Europe yet, though. They didn't get it until '97. But yeah, a very super late release for a Super Nintendo game. Enix had shut down their American headquarters at the time, so unfortunately, never got released over here, which is a shame. But this game was developed by Quintet. Mm-hmm. You may know Quintet for the ActRaiser and Soul Blazer games, also Illusion of Gaia.
Yes, a Game Club game from the old times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, old game. It's on the list already. So very, very much in the same vein as those games, action RPGs. Go ahead.
Game Club connection. The director for Quintet and the president was also wrote the first 3 East games. So we did East 1 on the Game Club. So there's another connection there.
We just love playing his games on the Game Club, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. And he just loves actions RPGs.
He does.
That too. Action RPGs are a fun time. And we at least I certainly enjoyed this one. I certainly usually enjoy action RPGs. And I just want to say this game was published by Enix, but also published in Europe. It was published by Nintendo.
There you go.
Yeah. So Nintendo themselves published this game. It's an action RPG with a top-down perspective, sort of Legend of Zelda style. Mm-hmm. Everything takes place in real-time battles. You play as a young man named Ark.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
On a quest to restore the world. Before we get really into it, I just want to say, Noah, you picked this game for us to play.
I did. And it's funny because Ark used to be my Greek nickname.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It was me all along. I restored the world.
Did you when you play the game, you get to name your character. Did you name him Ark or did you name yourself?
No, I just kept him. Yeah, I kept him as the default. And it was Ark, and I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah, I did as well. Yeah, I was just like, I'll just keep him as his whatever his name is.
Yeah, if they give me the name, my character, but they have a default option, I always go for the default option.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing is, his name actually is Ills. I mean, you guys didn't figure that out.
That's how you unlock the secret ending, is if you name your character Ills.
Yeah.
It's like Zelda when you name Link Zelda.
Undertale, you get a special ending. Anyway.
So yeah. So why'd you pick this game?
Well, we played Illusion of Gaia and really liked that game, and then we found out that there was a sequel to this, and I already had known about Terranigma. I never played it or anything, so it was already one of those games. But then once I found out it was a sequel to Illusion of Gaia, I was like, oh, it's going to be even better. So yeah, I wanted to play it a lot.
Sort of like a spiritual sequel rather than like a direct sequel.
Well, yeah. But still, you can tell, like,
Yeah.
Took from Illusion of Gaia and expanded on it, like, way more.
Mm-hmm. It's part of what they call the Quintet trilogy, which is Soul Blazer, Illusion of Gaia, and Terranigma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, in this game is although it's related to them, it's also very much its own thing.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, you play as Ark, and he's a young man. You're in a village that's in the underworld, and you open up Pandora's box early on in the game, and you get told that everybody turns into stone except for one elder in the village who tells you the only way to turn everybody back is to go to these towers, and that's I don't even remember what the hell it was up there in the towers, but they would basically conquering each quest would restore the
Resurrecting
world.
a continent.
A continent.
Basically.
It would resurrect the continent, but on the opposite side of the world, like the light world, like you were in the
the
underworld.
surface. The
surface, and that would restore everybody in your town, and it goes from there. It goes from you restore all these continents that all of a sudden you're restoring life itself.
Yeah.
You used to go to restore the plants, the birds, the beasts, and then humans.
Yeah, and then
Fuck the fish, apparently.
Fuck the fish. We're Kanye West in here. And then the third chapter is like you're restoring like civilization itself.
You're sort of guiding human history in a very weird, truncated way.
Very weird.
In a very weird way.
The first time you finish the first tower and it just goes, Eurasia has been resurrected, I was like, oh, this is going to be a weird video game. It did. Because it's not, because you could just be like, you resurrected the fantasy thing, but like, no, you go to Colorado, that's the second like area in the overworld, and you're like, oh
boy.
We're right next to the Amazon, just like in the real world. Just they're right next to each other.
It's like less than a 10-minute walk away.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is wild that it's the world map is the actual like layout of Earth.
Which was actually very helpful when I was trying to figure out where everything was.
It's true.
That's true. Yeah, when it says, we're like you need to go to like South America or Brazil, and you're like, I know where that is.
Yeah, because like it's surprisingly very like the overworld itself is surprisingly expansive for a Super Nintendo game. So it's just like you could easily get lost if you don't know your way around, especially when the fucking overworld doesn't have. It has like a lot of secret areas where they like aren't like distinct icons on the map.
Yeah.
Like with a town, you would see like a house or two like on a tile, and you'd be like, oh, that's a village. I can walk over there and it'll teleport me to a village. But like with a lot of areas, it was just like trees that are everywhere or like mountaintops that are everywhere.
Mm-hmm. There's like
so
one
like
tree that's out of place, and you're like,
yeah.
That's supposed to be it.
Yeah, you find some on accident just walking around. You're like, whoa, okay.
I found a lot by accident. Yeah, I was had treasure chests.
There's a lot of little secret
money.
nooks and stuff. And it's kind of also hard to navigate because like there's no map when you're on foot, so it's kind of
true. When you're in
so good thing it was based on actual Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it easy.
I think it's funny that like even in the underworld there's those little optional areas, and like you can just not resurrect Polynesia, and like there was something I think that like I just missed a bunch of islands like that like are in the real world where people live, and it made me like be like, man, I'm happy I didn't miss this because it was it'd be very strange.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found those too. Yeah, I was like,
so weird when you go to them, like nothing happens though, right?
It doesn't show the map at all. No,
Yeah.
It just says like Polynesia's been resurrected and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't make a special 5-minute cutscene of the fucking continent being resurrected.
Of the same cutscene.
No, it's different. They're all different.
Were they different?
No.
Yeah, but very slightly. Like,
No.
Well, yeah, like they would show Ark going into the tower, waiting for something to descend from the sky for a minute or a good minute or two, and then it would show like a special cutscene of like the continent itself, if it was snowy or like a desert or something or whatever it was.
Right.
That was the only distinct part, but like the first half of the cutscene was always the same, and it dragged on a little bit too much.
Yeah, you're just like, okay, I would pick up my phone because I'd be like, all right, I've seen this already.
Yeah, first time it's really cool. It's like, whoa, wow, this is awesome. They actually like putting emphasis in their cutscenes, but after you see it for the 5th time, you're like, okay.
I noticed a couple of things like that through the game. There's these parts where you can like get a ride from these birds, which is funny. They like pick you up in their mouths. But I'm like, after like the 2nd time doing it, I'm like, dude, can you just like, can I skip this? Like, if shit goes. So they're like, when you're on the world map, it's all mode 7. And like they must have been real proud of themselves because there's so many cutscenes.
I mean, it was really impressive and cool.
It was, but they were just like trying to show it off. Like, dude, look at what we can do now. Like, this is amazing. And the bird cutscenes, like, I swear you fly by where you're gonna land like 3 times. Yeah, it just keeps doing like swoops.
They circle around it for a while.
Yeah. There was a couple scenes too where when you get the logs and you have to build a bridge, you talk to this guy to give him a log, and he says it's like this. You have to give him like 9 pieces of wood, and he says the same thing every time.
Yeah.
You're just like, okay, I get it. Like,
and he doesn't tell you how many you need.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't. You just have to go collect
I just
them.
filled up my inventory. I was like, keep giving him.
What made me laugh too was there was one scenario where you have to plant bombs in these computers, and you have to do it like 9 times as well. And every time, Ark's like, "Oh, this is a computer." It's like, so this is what a computer is. But like he says the same thing every fucking time.
Well, I think you can plant them without having to go through that.
Oh, can you? I was just hitting X.
I was just
equip.
Yeah, I
if
was just put the
if
item.
you hit the use button instead of the interact button, I think
That's what I did.
I was just laughing because I was like, I'm like, he's saying this every single time. He's like shocked that this is. What
He's taking a lot of brain trauma at that point. He's taking a few hits to the head. All right,
it's true.
More than a few.
He's gone through a lot, and now computers exist in like the span of a couple of days now. So.
Yeah, he went from like not even like just like towns where like a windmill's the most advanced piece of technology to, like you said, he's looking at a computer in like 7 days.
Yeah.
Which is pretty funny. I guess we should probably mention. Sorry. About like the action. It's an action RPG, right? You're running around only as Ark. There's no party in this game.
Yes. Right.
Which I read an interview. They said that they originally planned for there to be a party, but they opted not to, so they could give Ark more animations.
Dude, having Pearl as a fucking party member would have been the best.
You can definitely tell that there were characters there that it felt like a party, especially near the end of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they went and they looked and they said, let's give Ark a bunch of animations. Let's make sure that he plays better and sort of focus on him. Which, I mean, the animations, I mean, like, you know, I guess the closest comparison point for a lot of people is Secret of Mana, right? Because that's an action RPG.
Yeah.
But this one, you have way more dynamic motion.
Yeah, I
right?
fucking love, like, the moveset he has. It's, like, very simple and straightforward, but it's so cool.
Yeah.
Like, especially, like, the Flurry of Blows.
Yeah, I kind of wish there was more to it, though, because, like, you only ever use the spear. So, I mean, in Secret of Mana, at least you have, like, all the other weapons and slightly different variations with every move, every weapon. So, yeah, I was kind of hoping, like, there would be more there, but, you know, it was still good.
I was happy there was a dash attack. There's a lot of moves that help you maintain momentum, which helped... Which helped, like, when you were kind of lost in a dungeon or whatever, right? It made it not feel as bad when you were wandering around, because you wouldn't have to, like, stop to fight every enemy. Eventually, you could just dash through them.
Yeah, run through them.
Thank God there were invincibility frames on that dash attack.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah, the combat
because when you get hit, you can get comboed up the ass.
You can.
Really?
You can, yeah.
I don't know.
It doesn't have the traditional, you get hit, you have, like, about a second or two to recollect yourself and, like, reposition yourself so you can start fighting. No, you get hit, you get staggered a little bit, you have, like, 3 frames, and then, being stunned for, like, a couple of frames, and then you can get hit again, like, immediately right afterwards. So if an enemy lands on top of you, you're gonna get hit, like, 3 or 4 times before you actually get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird because, I mean, I got stuck in one part and I got so over-leveled that by the time I got out of the part, like, every single thing I fought after that, I one-shot. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, no, that's very weird. Yeah, there were in certain parts, like in Chapter 3, like, there was some dungeons, like, I thought, like, I was leveling up in every, like, dungeon area or main area that we have to clear, basically. I was always, like, leveling up a couple of levels. So, when I reached the castle in Chapter 3... The first castle, the second, because you fight the zombies first. Well, in the zombie village, I had a lot of trouble too. But we'll get back to that one. But in the castle, like, all the enemies I was, like, fighting, it was, like, taking 1 damage, 2 damage, so I'd have to sit there for, like, a good minute stabbing them before they actually died. And then when I reached the boss, like, the same thing. I had to use all my magic spells to fucking even damage her at all.
Is it the Iron Maiden looking thing?
That was a bad boss.
Yeah, the doll. The doll.
That was a real dumb boss.
Like, I had to, like, I tried different spears. I realized that the light rod actually did a little bit more damage, but not by much. It went from 1 to 4. And then I tried all these different spells and realized that the Electro Ring actually does a lot of damage. Yes. Oh, by the way, you can use spells in this game.
That's what I was going to say.
This is a weird spell system.
Yeah, the spells are maybe the most half-baked part of it, I would say, because you have a limited number of resources called Magi-Rocks, and you have to go to a shopkeeper and trade in both money and those Magi-Rocks for things.
And that's the only way to replenish them.
Yeah, and so like I think the trick was that you were supposed to do the electric thing on that boss, because I realized that same thing too, because I was like, something seems wrong here. And
I just bought like 9 Electro Rings. I just spammed the fuck out of it until she died.
But the thing is, that though. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
But before that, though, there's not all spells work on every boss. So sometimes the game just won't let you use them, period. Right? They'll just go like,
you can't even use them at all.
Right. On the last boss, you can't use them.
Yeah, and I fucking stuck up on every fucking spell for the last boss. I was like, okay, I know I'm nearing the end of the game. I'll just go ham, because I don't use these spells ever, and I have so much fucking money in Magi-Rocks.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even use any.
And so, like, if there was just an NPC somewhere that was sort of like, hey, for this thing, I hear that she's weak to electricity or whatever, that would be enough, right? But instead, like, it's this thing that you just have to roll the dice and just, like, keep trying over and over until this one thing works. And if you don't walk in with that, then, like you said, you just have to slowly grind out one hit.
But it's also weird because some enemies are, like, invulnerable when they do certain things. So you don't know if your spell didn't work or it was just that you did it at the wrong time window.
Sure.
So it's very iffy. But anyway, after I beat that boss, which I thought, like, I also grinded to fucking get my decent damage going. After I beat that boss, every other fucking enemy was taking like 300, 200 damage from each attack.
Yeah.
So it was like a weird, like, I don't know, maybe they...
Like a difficulty spike?
It was a difficulty spike, but only for that certain area. Then it got super easy. It's like they didn't quite get the right balance.
I'm interested in like how the number, like I don't know how exactly like the behind the scenes numbers work, because that happened to me a couple times, right? Like where I would go and I walk into an area and I would like be doing whatever like middling damage. I level up 2 or 3 times, suddenly I'm 2-shotting people, right? And like sometimes it was just like the 4 strength points is apparently enough to like tilt me over the edge or something. Like I don't.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that's.
Must be working with multiplication or something.
Yeah. But like but that area, like I agree, was weird, but
yeah, because like it was just very strange because like after the castle, like you had dungeons where all the normal enemies that crawl around are susceptible to like damage like quite a bit, so you would be doing like 50, 60, 100 even, and then the boss itself would be taking 1s and 2s, so you're like, I can't be underleveled. If I am underleveled, I'll still be able to clear the dungeon, but there's no way in hell I'll be able to beat the boss. But if I overlevel, I'll do decent damage to the boss, but I'll fucking annihilate everything else.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I basically 3-shot the last boss, so I mean, yeah. That's how it went for my whole game. I was just like, I was hitting enemies at 1,000 by that point. I was just like, okay,
Damn. That's
nothing's
crazy.
gonna get past me.
I think I was at like level like 35 or something when I beat the game, and even then it was pretty fucking easy at that point.
Yeah, I think I was like.
33 or 32.
Yeah, I grinded a little bit too, and when I got to that castle, I was like, okay, this is I'm only doing 1 damage to these guys. It's literally taking me 2 straight minutes of attacking to kill one guy. It's like something wrong here. So I just grinded for a little while, and then I ended up being way too strong. And it's only like, like you mentioned, like 3 or 4 levels, and you're just like, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I have to say, like, the thing that I almost feel a little bad talking about so much of the game, because I think one of the biggest assets of it is, like, the way that, like, I was continually surprised throughout, right? Like, and in pleasant ways. Like, just, like, when you go into a town and, like, it's called Neo Tokyo, and you're like, what's going on here, right? What's going on in Freedom? What's all these different things? That like there is such this element, I think, to the game though, where it feels like at the beginning, especially, it's leaning a little bit into the tropes of like, you're the boy in the village, and the elder tells you to go out there, and then it's sort of playing off those in a very interesting way. Especially when you get to the end game and characters reveal their allegiances and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, and even then with the tropes you mentioned, and it kind of breaks tropes, because you have Ark, who's the main character. He's not a mute. he has his own voice. He talks and, actually says things, not just yes or no, nods his head, and he has a personality. He's not just yes or no. He's kind of a little asshole. You know? Yeah.
And you could also like make player choice in this game, like with different dialogue options. It's pretty fucking cool.
Fates. You can alter the invention of the telephone.
That was fun. Yeah, me and Will were talking about that. So like, there's real life historical figures in this game. Like Alexander Graham Bell is here, inventing the telephone in
getting
freedom.
cheated on.
Yeah. So his girlfriend cheats on him. He's all concerned, like, oh, like, my girlfriend hasn't come back. I just want to give her a call. That's why I'm inventing this thing called the telephone, so you can call people anywhere and talk to them. And you find his girlfriend. I don't even remember where she was. At one point, you find her.
Like a village north of his or something. Yeah.
And she's just like, oh, I found a new man. You can tell him I don't care about him anymore. Like, and you're like, okay. And then you get the choice. Do you tell him the truth or do you lie to him? And I tell him the truth, and he gets upset and goes to the bar, and he's just getting wasted. He's like, he becomes inspired. He's like, I don't even need her anymore. I can make the telephone, and people will love it. And it's great. You just go there, and he's like, go in the other room. I made a telephone. Watch, I can talk to you. And he's like, pick up the phone. He's like, it's me. I'm in the other room.
We need more games where historical figures get cucked.
Who else was it? Somebody right next to him, too.
Thomas Edison.
Thomas Edison, yeah, was making the light bulb.
And Christopher Columbus was like a messenger of God and was like hiding things on his journeys.
Columbus was like a main part of the story.
Yeah.
He was a broken man. He never came back from his journeys.
A lot happened. It's funny because like we said, there's the telephone is being invented, but also like ships are like still relatively rare, so like it's a whole weird thing, it's a very funny world.
The Wright
and
brothers
airplanes get invented.
You help. You're not even the Wright brothers, just one of them, but
Wright brother
Will's there.
I'm there. North Carolina, first in flight, baby. Screw you, Ohio. But but then I think that they do actually a pretty nice balance of like these weird things where clearly they know it's like a little funny that Thomas Edison and all these other people, Alexander Graham Bell, is like getting cheated on. But then they have like a core cast of original to the game characters that I think also I ended up liking way more than I expected to at the start.
Right.
Definitely.
There's you in your village, like you said, there's the elder. There's a girl named Elle who has a crush on you, sort of.
Yeah. You like her back. It's going both ways. Like,
it's definitely mutual.
Yeah.
And but you're also kind of like a scumbag, so you can't quite like be on the level with her. Like sometimes she'll be like, "Are you going away? I'm going to miss you," and you're sort of like, "Yeah." Like, see ya. I loved just like a little early detail, like. A villager's like, can you stop hanging out with my kid? They keep trying to break vases because of you. Yeah. That's like the one action you can do in the village, basically, because you can't have your spear out.
You can throw vases at people and they get real pissed about it.
It's funny because like right in the first house, she like asks you for a vase, but you can't give it to her. You have to throw it. And it's like designed for her to get mad at you.
Yeah. She's like, oh, that's it. No dinner for you now.
The only way to win is not to play.
It's good. I appreciate it.
There's a lot of good character moments, like, and the way they weave them in, like, even like in this world where a lot of disparate moments happen, like you're just like, there's a whole bunch of craziness going on with like all these historical figures, like in every town there's like something going on with the main cast, and that's pretty cool. I like the way they weave that in.
Yeah, me too. And I liked I like the characters. I like there's like a main cast of like what 5 or 6 basically.
Sure.
And
it's more like 2 or 3.
It's like in the beginning when you get introduced to all these different characters, even like the animals, like Lame, like the lion and all that. It's like at first meet, I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. It's like, okay, when you leave and you're like, all right, bye, kind of forget about you. But then they kind of tie them in at the end like really well, and it all comes together. I was like, oh yeah, I remember you. You're cool, and all that. It's like really good. Like definitely, my affection for the characters definitely went up towards like chapter 3 and 4.
Yeah, it really expands like in chapter 3, like it feels like that's the main part of the game. Like everything before that is kind of like a tutorial.
Yeah, and it goes. One of the things I'll give this game credit for is the environments itself. You know, it uses. You go around the whole world. There's some you reuse, like for the little secret areas, a lot of reused stuff. But there's a lot of unique environments in this game because, you know, you have like in just different like arcs that are going on. Like you have like the animal part where you're helping a little baby cub and it's just like Lion King, but you have to like guide them through mazes and it's on the cliffside. You go to like a zombie town. Like an entire like desert town filled with zombies. You end up in like a robot factory. Like you're on a big like airship. There's a lot of different things going on. And it's really cool. I like the variety, and there's a lot of enemy variety too.
There is. I was gonna say that too.
Although most of them are just easy to plow through.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like a lot of them bring like new like. Oh, I have to figure out how to fight this guy.
No,
right.
But just enemy variety in general is very different. Like, I mean, there's one point I said in chat, I was like, was that a dog wearing a jetpack shooting a rocket launcher? Like, that's a thing in this game.
Mm-hmm. And it's good. I like that dog a lot.
Was that a kung fu armadillo? What's going on?
Yeah.
I hate those things so much.
Bastards.
I overall you like almost all the sprite work in this game. I think it's a good looking video.
Oh
game.
yeah, it's great.
A lot. And I did like a lot during the like resurrection of like nature side of things, right? Like those little animations of like when you know, there's a lot of neat environmental changes, right? Like you'll go before you resurrect the plants, everything is barren, and then the entire world map changes as soon as you walk out again, right? And stuff like that. And they do that more with different environments as the game goes on. But I mean, you can tell this is like Brandon said at the start, a later SNES RPG, but they're getting all they can out of the system, you know?
Yeah.
The things that it excels at, they're using very well, right?
Right, yeah. And you can see the effects like early on really, really quickly. Like you see in Krista with like those bubbles in the atmosphere. And whenever you get to like a waterfall, you see like the drops coming into the pool below. It's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
And another thing on what you were saying about the development, like every time you resurrect something, when you resurrect the humans, it's kind of bittersweet because you lose the ability to talk to plants and animals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So even if you go back like to try to talk to them, you're just like
It's just dot.
Yeah.
sad.
But you still use the birds to fly around, but you just have to remember what the dialogue options were.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. There is. Do we want? I don't know how much more to talk about like the end game of the story, right? Cause
I mean, we usually talk about it.
we do, right? But so I do think that like the because there's so much of Chapter 3. I almost compare it. You guys haven't played it, but like Dragon Quest 7, where like some of these things are very sort of self-contained, right?
Well,
but
how do you know I didn't play it?
Maybe you did. I've talked about Dragon Quest enough and not gotten much as a response that I figured. But there's that element to it, right? Where like there's a whole thing where there's like a politics and an election in a town, right? And sort of like that happens, but it's nice because it tells a little own self-contained thing. But the problems with that stuff is that sometimes it means that when the time comes to conclude, it can struggle. But when I got to the end, like they throw a bunch of wild things at you, but I was into it pretty much the entire time. Like when the light side version of Ark showed up, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like there would be, right? Like there's a light side version of L. I was dumb to not think about there being a version of me too, you know?
Yeah.
And then the whole thing of, you know, your little knobby guy turns out to be a bad guy. He wants to try to kill you, and you're like,
he was the bad one. There was a good one too, but he was the evil one.
And he's also the common ancestor of all life, which is pretty wild at the end. They throw that out there.
Yeah, what the hell? He's like, I'm surprised you never asked what I am, and you just like, oh, you know, whatever. And he's like, well, I'm what you were. Everything was me at one point. You're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, the game is smarter than it seems at first glance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it plays on your expectations a lot, and that's really good. That's cool to see.
Yeah. Because it's very easy for it to just be, everything's weird and crazy, but like, no, there is an internal logic to a fair amount of it, and they also have characters that ground the whole story, right? So the weirdness matters.
Yeah, it's weird, but it also can be like some twists can be pretty dark. It's like very unexpected.
Yeah, I mean,
like one of the best examples is the fucking Neclomada and the fucking the snowy mountains with the goats.
Yeah.
You get trapped in a cave by an avalanche and you have to survive. And there was this pair of goats there, like a female and a male goat, and the male goat died, so the female was eating it to stay alive. I was like, oh, Jesus.
She was savage as hell. She's just like, because she even says, like, this is my husband. He's dead.
Yeah.
We're going to die down here, so let's eat him.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wait, what? She's like, what, are you going to die? Let's eat him.
Yeah.
You're like, well, holy shit, bitch.
But then she's also like, I'm not like, I remember him, like I have the memories with him, but like this isn't him anymore, right? Like
and also
and you
she's
would have
like,
wanted me to live on.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Doing this.
She's like, oh, if I die, then there's one less goat around.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And then, but then also like, I mean, she sort of says like, I'll find my way out of here, right? Like, but the spoilers, I mean, she doesn't. Like,
she doesn't. I went back to check on her. She's dead.
And I think there's something nice about like some characters get happy endings, but a lot of them get bittersweet ones, right? Like
especially, well, yeah.
Even Ark, like right at the end.
Exactly.
Even Ark himself.
I really love that ending.
Yeah, that was a really. It's like a very different from the classic. Oh, you beat the bad guy, you can live happily ever after. Everything's great now. It's just like no, he has a pretty dark ending as well.
No, your things aren't going to work out. You're going to go away.
But there's a little bit of a glimmer of hope at the end, right? There's the knock on the door. Anyway.
I mean, he did get what's it called? Reincarnated. So
yeah.
And it gets a little. Did you guys stay around after the credits? Because there's like a little mini cutscene. Yeah.
Right.
Like he actually goes back to L.
Yeah.
And they.
Knock.
You think?
Well, yeah.
I mean, they tease it. They tease it.
That's cool. Yeah. And just like. Because there's two parts to the game, right? There's the characters and there's the world, and it encompasses both, right? You see the bird and you see sort of, you know, is that the spirit of Ark? Is it, we don't, you know, this may be implied, but just seeing the world that he helped build, and people advance, right? Here's a bullet train, here's a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
Well, he says he
dreams as he was flying through the sky as like a bird. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's cool, right? I think they did a good job of like sort of getting the two parts of their game and fusing them together in a nice way in the credits.
It's also weird because like I really like the way they actually you have control and you end the game, like in the sense that once you defeat the boss, you go back to the village of Krista. Everybody's like spirits like is gone. Like no, they like the light version of Gaia tells you like, okay, it's your last day here since you destroyed Dark Gaia, the main guy that was like trying to resurrect and like take over the light world, blah blah blah, all that stuff. Spoilers. And he basically says, okay, you have one more day here. Spend it any way you want. And then just know that you're going to disappear in like a day. So go at your own pace and be at peace with it. I was like, okay. So I actually went around the village, talked to everybody. And like, they all seemed to be like kind of ignorant of like the whole thing. Like they didn't know what was going on. So
they're all normal, basically.
Yeah, they're all just normal. And then, to actually end the game, like, you have to go into your room, like, where you started, into the bed where you started, and fall asleep. And that's how, like, you become into a dream and you get reincarnated as the bird. And I thought that was a really, really cool way to end the game.
Yeah.
Yes,
like, that was extremely satisfying.
It's
very, very good.
It's weird. A lot of the game in sort of, like, I guess, tone more than anything else sort of reminds me of Earthbound. And that's very much like the end of Earthbound, right? Where you just walk Paula home. And every character's there, you can sort of talk to everyone. Obviously, it's a smaller scale here, but that thing of like you choosing this finality to this journey and sort of like also like giving you a second to think on stuff, right? Like it's cool. I learned this actually. One of the guys who did translation for this game worked on Earthbound for the first like 20% of the game. Like the Fuzzy Pickles line, that was the guy who worked on Terranigma, which I think is pretty wild. And also, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's very much like relinquishing control, like learning when to let go.
Yeah,
that's the good part of this ending. Like, I mean, sometimes it just doesn't. Like, you did everything you can do, and that's it. You just have to let go.
And it's also it's sort of on the larger like scope of the world. There's a neat thing of like there's a lot of mirroring of things, right? Like obviously there's the light side, dark side world, but like there's all these cultures are like weird sort of like slightly distorted funhouse mirrors of like what they are in real life, you know. Like,
or
and
stereotypes in some cases.
yeah, the China one's a problem.
Yeah,
I loved it so much.
I was like, I first read it and I was like, oh, they made a typo, and then I was reading the next line and I was like, no, they didn't.
They made a decision.
They were giving personality to the characters.
Nah.
Oh, they were.
Wait, if you talk to anybody in Neo Tokyo, they all talk like, "Oh, I'm very busy. I gotta go."
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all like, it's
I mean,
so funny.
like that's how like a lot of businessmen in Japan are. Well, that's what the idea was behind it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that it's neat, and then, you know, like, I mean, I think it's funny that where they draw the line, right? Like, here's Neo Tokyo, but it's with an I instead of a Y, right? Like,
Yeah.
they could have just named the America town.
Freedom.
Yeah, instead of like Detroit, it's freedom. And
I mean,
like,
they did. Yeah, it's freedom. Literally just freedom.
Yeah.
And then they wiped Neo Tokyo off the map, basically. So that was brutal.
There was. It's wild. It's when they first on the actual map when you resurrect, Japan's not on it, and I was like, whoa, it's a little dig at themselves there. They didn't make it on the map, but
right
in the actual
they're there.
overworld they are, yeah.
And then they get destroyed.
Yeah. That was,
Quintet kills itself.
yeah.
There's some weird stuff going on
Illusion
in
of
like some
Gaia
of the
too.
towns.
It's,
You go in there, and there's like a part. One of them, I think it was like this part where like this girl's like, yeah, give me a massage, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Oh yeah, I did that too.
I like that one a lot because I was like, what? And then I just like walked into her for a while, and she was
Yeah.
like, that's good. I was like, that's a pretty cute way to like do that, you know?
It just gives you 1 gold. I'm like, well,
But if you
Yeah,
do go
well,
back
thanks.
over and over, she gives you more and more because you get better and better at giving her a massage, which is pretty funny.
I didn't do that.
I wish you. Obviously, with the game club, we have time constraints, right? But I want to at some point go back and like. I'm sure there's a ton of side stuff that I missed.
yeah.
There's a
I
good
feel
amount.
I felt the same way because we were like on a time restriction kind of.
Yeah, it
I
had-
feel like I would have I had to rush it because I knew it was like at least a 20-hour game according to how long to beat. So like
15 actually,
very
I think.
yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't do any of the side quest stuff, so if you manage to do the side quest stuff, it'd probably take a lot longer.
Yeah, look, I did some of them.
And not to mention, like, the game isn't clear cut on where to, like, it tells you like, oh, you have to go here, like, for the main story parts. But then a lot of times, especially in chapter 3, where it's like, oh, I have to get this thing, but you have no idea where this thing is or where to find it.
Yeah.
So you really have to explore and find it. And sometimes
Right.
it's just like they downright don't even tell you what you need to find.
Yeah, I feel like I would.
Whoa.
NPC in some town, right? Like you could very
Right.
easily miss.
Yeah,
I
but
feel like I would use
you
a
can
guide
easily
about
miss,
doing
or you
that.
don't even know it's related to what you need to do.
Yeah.
It's like
That's very much the Starstone quest at the end.
yeah, like
They at least
you
give you
have
hints
no
of where
like
that shit is.
Yeah, but I mean, they're very vague.
There's like
Very, very,
a
very
town with penguins, and you're like, okay, all right.
yeah.
And yeah, but you wouldn't.
Yeah,
know
but
you
how
have
would you know
buy
that you
a
need to give the
flower.
fucking flower to
The
the
flower is
penguin,
the
and he
biggest
gives you the
one for me.
starstone?
I got super lucky.
I kind of just
'cause I
already
remembered.
bought flowers.
Well, I already had the flowers, yeah, because I bought like 9 flowers from when I
too,
first saw it.
yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
oh, I can bring up the economy. Oh, I want to see what happens when I buy all her flowers. And nothing happens. So I was like, oh, so now I have like
Yeah.
9 flowers in my inventory.
Speaking of side quests, the economies were pretty interesting.
Exactly, yeah. There's like big towns that have like economies that like you talk. There's a guy in like every town that's like, I'll
Klein,
tell you
yeah.
how like the economy's doing in this town, and like you do it just by like doing side quests and shit in the town, and the towns get bigger and expand. Like you can apparently like rent houses and shit.
Yeah, you can buy a house. There's player
didn't know
housing, which is
that.
pretty cool.
Yeah, that's why I feel like if I played this as a kid, I would have fucking loved it even more. Because I would have had the luxury of like having free time and being able to do whatever the fuck I want and take my take my own pace and time with it, and I would have probably explored in like 100% in it and everything like I did with all my older RPG games.
This would have been a game that I would have bought a guide for as a kid. I feel like
There
So I
was
could do
Probably.
everything.
Speaking of, while I was looking up stuff for this game, and it actually did come to Europe too, so I think there's an English version. There's like a world atlas for like the world of this game that's really cool, in addition to the strategy guide. And I looked at just some pictures, and it's very neat. It's sort of treated like a travel guide. If you, I mean, I hate to bring it up again, but like if you got the Earthbound strategy guide, it's very
Yeah.
much like that, yeah. Which is neat. When Klein first showed up, I was like, is this like a real life guy that I didn't know existed? This is like a famous economist. There's not. He's original. But I think
who?
I think about they tricked me is actually pretty good though. Like,
Wait, you mean
I just didn't know.
Kynes?
Yeah,
Kynes,
sorry.
I think it's supposed to be like Keynesian.
That's what I was wondering because I knew it sounded kind of like that, but
Yeah, maybe.
But either way, still like those side quests are cool, and I mean it would be weird to go back, I think, on like an old full playthrough, but maybe a few months down the line if there ever will not be video games coming out, which seems to never happen because the next 9 months are stacked. I want to go back to Terranigma.
Yeah,
Stacked
there's a
with
lot
Game
going
Club
on.
games.
Oh, that too. There's always going to be the Game Club.
It never stops.
Yeah.
If there's one thing we know, is that the world's going to keep on spinning and there's always going to be a game club.
Sort of a theme of Terranigma a little bit, you know? A little bit.
Yeah.
That's true. Thanks, Terranigma, for teaching me a mighty fine lesson.
But yeah, to Noah's point where he was talking about how the game doesn't really hold your hand, there's some points where you wish they kind of guided you a little bit more. Like,
Yeah.
Like when I got to chapter 3, I got stuck in the first dungeon town area with the zombies. Because if you don't talk to that NPC in the top right corner or top left corner of the map, you do not know that there's supposed to be a secret door there later on. And you can never talk to him again because he doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And it's so annoying that I spent like 5 hours there just running around thinking I was missing something when I just didn't talk to the one guy.
Yeah.
So
I had
felt-
talked to that guy, and like before the town turned, and I was like, "Oh, I guess there's a secret room or something or whatever." And I completely forgot about it.
yeah.
And I had once the whole event happened, I got all the items. I was looking around town. I was like, "Where the fuck do I go now?" And I accidentally like leaned into that fucking building,
Oh, man.
and I went through. I was like, "Oh yeah, this is the fucking spot where the guy was talking nonsense." I was like.
It's so weird that they did that. Like,
I
geez,
felt,
kind of like, give me a fucking hint afterwards.
Yeah, seriously.
You can easily miss that person.
Oh yeah, very, very easily.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, probably not to that extreme, but there are a lot of instances like that where you could just easily miss a hint and you like get lost.
Yeah, that happened to me when I first, when you first get the ship. Like, you do the thing and the guy's like, yeah, I'm going to give you a ship. So, like, it opens up, like, really the whole world to you. And at that point, I was just like, okay, now what do I do?
Yeah.
I was like, I have all this world to explore, but like I was confused. I don't even remember. I was like, at that point, I was like, now I don't know what my next objective is. I was like, I guess I'm just gonna explore, but what? Like, I want a direction here. Point me in a direction, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah. So there was a couple points where I was like, it never got too bad though. But yeah, there's some spots. You said, what? Okay, what do I do?
It's just like it needed like maybe like the slightest amount of adjustment there, and it would have been a lot better.
If they had like a Yomi button in the menu, right, where you just sort of say, and it gives you like a little hint, you know, let him be.
Well,
nappy.
it did have a fortune teller, but she was vague as fuck.
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
big as fuck too.
Yeah.
And also you have to like
what?
travel to her, you know, like that's.
Yeah, that's a kind
Yeah,
of.
and only certain towns had her, like a couple
Yeah.
of towns. I was like, I can't even remember what fucking town had her, so I didn't even bother looking for her.
I do want to point out, we didn't even mention this. Speaking of Yomi, and the menu screen is super cool. In this
yeah.
game.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
get Pandora's box at the beginning of the game, and when you go to your menu screen, when you press pause, it just like darkens the screen, and that's it. But when you press select to like look at your items, your inventory, equip, and all that stuff, and you dive into Pandora's box. Like, the animation's really cool. Like, the box comes out and you just kind of like dive right into it and you shrink.
Yeah.
And then you're in there, and then there's like the different rooms, and you guide Yomi around, and he selects stuff for you. And yeah, that would have been cool if there was a little section in there that you could have just talked to Yomi.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's a cool little take on the menu system.
it is a cool take on the menu
weapon
system.
menu system. You use Yomi to choose what weapon you want. Same with armor and items and all that stuff.
That's how you have all this stuff on you all the time. It's because it's all in this one box.
I
Right,
thought of
yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
I thought it was weird that you actually had to throw away weapons that you previously collected if your inventory gets
Yeah.
full.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Thought that was
I thought they
weird,
were
too.
gonna give you enough spaces for every weapon, and when I
Yeah.
got to the point where I had more than, I was just like disappointed.
But they have
Same.
special slots for weapons that you need.
Yeah.
Or armor
Yeah.
that you need for the story. So, but I knew that. I missed a couple, I think, as well. But it's like I always had this, like, I filled up my weapons, like, very fast. And then I was like, I got a new one. I can't pick it up. I was like, do I need this weapon or not? Because some weapons, like we mentioned before, are, like, super effective or, like, good against certain types of enemies. Like, the silver pike was good against wolves. The light rod was good against dead or undead enemies and things like that. So I was always worried, it's like, if I get rid of this and then I find like a secret or a side boss or something that's like really weak or like you need this weapon to beat it, I'd be fucked. So I was always hesitant on getting rid of them.
Yeah, I just started throwing away like everything that was like more than 20 less than what I had.
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah. And also like I wanted to keep like certain weapons like the Neofang because that was like from the King of the Beasts, like from the lions that give you and things like that. So I was like, kind of sentimental value kind of thing.
I wanted to keep all the weapons because they all look cool, but yeah.
Yeah, speaking of them looking really cool, one of my only things that disappointed me was like some of the armors were really cool, and I was like, I wish they would change my sprite, you know?
Yeah. I feel like that would have been too much work.
I know, but it would have been really cool because you pick up a piece of armor and you're like, that looks dope, and then you equip it and you look exactly the same. It's like, and then the spears, some of them look really cool, but they're all like one. They change colors. Yeah. That's it. Mm-hmm. They all look exactly the same on the main screen. Yeah. And I wish those would show up differently too. That would have been cool.
Yeah. One problem I had was that after the world opens up and you get the boat, like going back to the older areas, it's not very accessible. Like sometimes you have to go through like the desert or like if you want to go back to those places.
Fuck that stupid desert too.
Yeah, that desert's real dumb.
Yeah.
The third step where you had to like go northwest or whatever.
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out, so I just like powerboat it. I don't know. I brute forced it.
You had to be like really specific with it, and it was like even after I did it the first time, I had to go through there a second time, and I still got it wrong. I was like,
I went north, then I went west, then I went northwest. I went diagonally slightly upward. I went diagonally slightly lower. It's just like.
It was.
I eventually got it.
All the other steps were easy as shit to do, but just that one, I was like, "What the fuck, man? I'm gonna miss it."
Yeah, so I kind of wish, like, near the end of the game, they would have opened up, like, let you travel in a more free way.
Yeah, I thought when you got the plane, when I got the plane, I thought, I can land anywhere. No, you need to go to an airport. There's only 2 airports on the fucking whole map.
The one you start from and the one you go to.
Yeah.
It's because especially because like there's a fair amount of build up to the plane, and like you're late in the game, so you're sort of like, okay, this is the moment where like I want to do cleanup, and it does not facilitate that at all.
They should have just had it so you can fly anywhere. It's weird.
Yeah.
And if they wanted to really limit it, they could have made it like so that like the plane gets upgraded when the Starstone quest starts. That would have been useful.
Or I mean, or maybe even doing something like, hey, if you built up the economy, they're able to have landing strips or something like that.
I would have been mad
like,
about that.
but like something, right? Like that's
thing.
Sort of on the moment mention of like map design. I do think the one thing this game actually did well is that whenever you have an action RPG with dungeons like this game has, right, it can be. That can be pretty rudimentary, but I think that they actually did a pretty good job as it went on of like making the environments just that more elaborate each time generally, right? And like by the end, like you when you have the wall climbing, when you can swim, when you can do all the things in the game, I think that they had some really neat dungeon designs in comparison to like a lot of its ilk at the time, which was sort of very much like run through a room, fight the enemies, and there's plenty of that in this game, but I think that they have pretty neat environmental designs.
I thought the dungeon design was really strong even from the get go. Like one of the towers, you had to go down and up and make sure you go to the right section. Like you could only fall down in one side to progress.
But the thing is that they're nice because they're relatively short. Like there's not too many rooms and they're very clearly floors and you would go upwards and that's always your end goal. And so like it's a great tutorial area, and then when then part 2 where you're like resurrecting nature, like the one where you're taking the things to the altars, right? Like that's cool because it's a dungeon, but it's not like an enclosed space, so it feels different than
and it's always opening up in a different way. Like the water gets into the environment, so you have to swim in a different direction.
Yeah, I liked that one.
And it sort of goes up from there as the game goes on in a way that I liked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the dungeon design was really strong. Like
it was,
Sylvain Castle was really good. Not the zombie place, but in general.
Yeah.
As
like
much as I hated the fucking castle because of how difficult the zombies were, or not the zombies, the monsters and the boss were, I fucking loved that dungeon because of the puzzles it had in it.
Yeah. It was
and it's even that castle, right, which was like a frustration point. Like I think like the backstory of it's like really cool, right? Mm-hmm. Like her kids died with Christopher Columbus, and she went nuts, and everyone got turned. And then like there's the weird dolls, and the dolls are her kids. Like it's a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like
and there was one where it's like you have to sneak around dudes with flashlights.
I hate that fucking place.
That was
dumb.
I mean, it was unique and cool, nice change of pace, but
it was unique, but they fucking brought you back to the start every time. Like no matter
there was a
where you
couple
were.
times where it actually helped me.
Well, when you've gotten all the way to the end and you want to go back to the start, you just get caught and it just teleports you.
Yeah, exactly. I would do it on purpose. I'd be like, all right, let's go.
It was kind of annoying.
Yeah,
I thought
a little bit, but it was. I appreciate it, like I said earlier in the episode, that I just appreciated the variety. The big variety in the environments. They look very different. It's like, kind of remind me of Twilight Princess. How a lot of the dungeons are like break the mold. They're very different than what your standard like dungeons are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought it was very cool. And the one thing I want to mention, the music was fucking real good.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yeah, right from the get-go. As soon as you leave that town, that fucking song was amazing.
Yeah,
yeah, the main theme song, like that town song that played like throughout.
Krista's theme, yeah,
it's really good song. Perel, he had a fucking bopping ass beat. I loved him.
And that was really cool because it was really cool. There was and like what's his name? Royd. Like I like
mercenary.
Yeah, I like that they hide his theme because his theme is like a happy theme, and so when he shows up, he seems like a dick, and they're like, they save that until you find out, oh no, he's actually a pretty cool guy. And then you get to hear it, and you're like, oh, okay. Because if they had it play in the early thing, you'd be like, this doesn't match, right? And
to be fair, he is kind of a dick when he shows up.
Sure, even then.
He's the angsty man. He's the angsty boy, pretty boy.
Yeah, but he's also, he's not as bad a guy as you thought at first, which is neat.
We didn't really get a decent, we got his motivation, what his goal was, but we never really got his own backstory.
He falls in love with
Well, he's like reincarnated from the person who used to be in love with Frida.
Yeah.
He falls in love with Frida.
I didn't get that part, but okay.
A little girl falls in love with you, and you have to break her heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a good character though.
She's a little shithead, but she ended up being really cool.
Yeah, she's sweet.
Fun.
She's also got wild powers. So
true.
I have no idea how she got those powers.
Yeah.
Don't break a girl's heart.
Yeah.
Well, she was also like, just a little 12-year-old falling in love with you, and you'd be like, listen, girl.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
This ain't gonna work.
Be careful when she has powers, is what I mean.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. She could, freeze people or something.
No, she can create mirages.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it was, yeah. She, made you invisible at one point. Yeah. So you could sneak by some guards.
Well, yeah, she didn't make you invisible. She just put a mirage on the other enemy so they can't see you. They can only see what she wants them to see, basically.
It's like that girl from Stranger Things 2. She has that same power. Number 8.
My brain went to the Twilight Zone episode where there's the kid that everyone has to keep happy all the time, or else he'll turn them into like a Jack in the Box.
Oh yeah, The Simpsons.
Yeah,
they parodied that episode on Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah.
I always thought that would have been a cool ass power.
Mm-hmm.
Just people would fear you and just give you whatever you want. Like, I'm gonna eat ice cream all day. Mm-hmm. When you're 10 years old, that seems like a really cool thing.
Mm-hmm. And then you realize it's a nightmare.
It's still a cool thing. It's still a cool thing,
but...
It's still a cool thing, but as you get older, you realize that you're gonna kill yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
That was coming. Alright, so guys, anything else that we didn't cover? Or you want to move on to recommendation?
I just wanted to say one short thing. The story of this game reminded me a lot of The Matrix Reloaded, strangely enough. You remember the scene with the architect, and he's like explaining to Neo, like, "Oh, everything's part of the system, and the one is just another part of the system. It's all part of keeping balance. Like you thought you were breaking the system, but really you're just a part of it."
Yeah.
That's what this game felt like to me.
Yeah.
Because it's very much like that. Like you feel like you're the chosen one, but really you're just playing into a greater dynamic that you're not aware of.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty sweet.
And
Not any relation to the Matrix, but you know.
well, the part where he put on the leather trench coat and sunglasses may have been a reference. But,
Oh yes.
there was one other thing that I thought was cool because I was just reading about it online. Like even like because I think that whenever you do a sequel like this, it's hard to know how much you reference stuff, right? And I think that there was really cool winks and nudges to things, just from like hardcore fans, right? Like the goat we mentioned, right? In apparently in Soul Blazer, there's like a couple and they're both old. The wife dies and the husband misses her, but it turns out she's reincarnated as a goat that he purchases after she died, and so she's still with him, right? And so there's a lot of people that are like, oh, like, you know, that's like the goats that died are maybe the same thing, you know, maybe that's them reincarnated, right? Like there's this connection of these two people like dying together, right?
They died again.
And they died again. They can't get away from it. But like I think that's a really neat way to approach a sequel, you know? Like the story itself largely the same, but like if you pay attention, like the themes, right? You know, obviously reincarnation's a big part of it, but like the themes themselves reiterate themselves throughout the series in a way I think is really cool.
Yeah, much like Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams.
That's true.
They die together.
Okay. We're just doing movie illusions now.
Yeah.
Everything's movies.
Let me tell you about Napoleon Dynamite and how it ties into Terranigma.
Please do.
All right, so now we're going to tell everybody listening whether or not we would recommend Terranigma to you. Noah, I'm going to start with you.
Oh yeah, 100%. I don't know how easy it will be for people in America to get it, but
Pretty easy.
I mean, yeah, but legitimately, yeah, I definitely recommend it. It's a great action RPG. You have a good time with it. It might be a little bit of a struggle figuring out where to go, but it's definitely worth the experience.
Okay. I'll go next. I want to say, you know, the Super Nintendo has a big reputation for, you know, the place to go if you want to play some classic RPGs. And I would say Terranigma, you know, it sits alongside them. I think it fits nicely in that category of classic RPGs that I think you should play on Super Nintendo. So fits right alongside, and I would say you should give it a try if you're a big fan of them. Definitely. And like SNES Drunk would say, I hate saying SNES, but that's how he says it. So I'll respect him. Play this game any way you can.
Yeah.
Will.
Yeah, I super would recommend it. Sort of like going off what you said, Brandon. Like the SNES, tons of RPGs. And I walked in worrying like, okay, like will this be like a good but not great sort of like a lot of other things. And I can say that like there's very few RPGs that I play that are like Terranigma. And not only that, the game itself is good. And so I think that both those things combined to make me say, yeah, totally pick it up wherever you can.
Ills?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this game is great. I mean, the story hits you in a way you wouldn't expect when you get to the end, and I think it ends up, you know, being really, really solid. Also, why isn't this game fucking re-released on America? Like, I don't understand.
Right. It could have been on the Virtual Console. Easy.
Yeah, easily.
Right? It's already translated. I mean,
Illusion of
exactly.
Gaia is on the Virtual Console. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's just bewildering. But
missed
yeah,
opportunity.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely.
Yep, definitely. Well, now it's time for the ultimate judgment. We're gonna see where this game goes when we put it on the list. Follow along in the basement below. Every week we add the Game Club game to the list, and this week is no exception. And usually I start with asking the person who picked the game, so that's also no exception. We're gonna keep doing that. Noah, look at the list.
I am looking. I want it pretty high, but I have no idea how high I should go.
The list is arbitrary, by the way. If you don't know anything about the list, we just had every week we add games to it, so it's not.
Is it arbitrary though?
Oh, it's the top 128. Gonna be 129 games. It's not. It's not the top 128 games. Sorry.
Sonic 06 is on this list.
Sonic 06 is on this list. Yeah, it's just the games that we've added to it. It's just gonna keep. Eventually, it's gonna be all the games ever that ever come out.
Probably not.
Alright, so going over all the things we said,
Running through my head.
I really enjoyed going through this game. The story hit me really hard at the end, especially. I think it's safe to assume this is like one of those like gems that was on the console, for sure.
Hidden gem, yeah.
Yeah.
I would ask, do you think it's better than Illusion of Gaia first? And
Yeah.
do you
Yes.
think it's better than Alundra second?
Yeah, Alundra. Do you think it's better than Alundra?
That was where I was looking at.
Because I don't know if it's better than Alundra.
I wouldn't say it's pretty damn close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're.
I
Very
think I would prefer Alundra. I mean, maybe Terranigma has a. No, they're both really good story-wise too. But I think I enjoyed Alundra as a package more. As like a whole. Like, there was a little bit more frustration in Alundra. But there was also a lot more satisfaction coming from Alundra too. So it's like. I wanted to put it. I don't know. But again, Alundra's like little low on the list again.
Yeah.
But
Well, he just moved it.
I know. I should have moved it up more. I don't know, somewhere in the 40s. What do you guys think?
I mean,
I need to bounce off people here.
if we're going above Alundra, I'd be willing to put it above Star Fox, to be honest. Like,
You know what? That's exactly where my eye went. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. I mean, I don't want to put it above Awakening, but also I want to move Awakening up. So.
Yeah, it's like I didn't want to put it above Alundra, but I just feel like it has to. It's because it can't be a single wall.
yeah. The 10 games above it, outweigh the one.
So how high? Star Fox?
I wouldn't put it above Awakening. I don't think.
You wouldn't?
I want to put it. I want to put Awakening up though.
I do too, but I think. I don't know. I think also the games above Awakening are also like.
Yeah, there's Walking Dead. There's Valkyria Chronicles. Like, they're both, I think, good games too. You know, like, so it's.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So below or above Awakening?
Below Awakening.
Below
Right
Awakening?
below Awakening.
Right
Above,
below it,
above Star Fox 64.
Yeah, I can go with that.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. There it goes.
Seems like a very good spot. That was pretty easy. Pretty harmless. No
I
fights.
mean, we pretty much said everything we could about the game, so we couldn't really go into debate about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, comparing it to another game, if one of us felt super passionate about it,
guess.
we would have had to. But I think that's a pretty good spot for it. So that puts it at number 47 on the list. It puts it in some good territory. Number 45, we have Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 1. Number 46, we have Fire Emblem Awakening. Number 47, I might have said the wrong number originally, but it puts it at number 47. Would be Terranigma Balls.
Okay.
Number 48, Star Fox 64. And number 49, Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc. So all really good company this game is sitting in. I'll say I really like all these games. So that's it for the list segment. Thank you for listening to us. But before we go, I got a couple things I want to go over with you guys. You can follow us on social media if you enjoyed us here on the podcast. And you can like us, follow us, subscribe to us on all social media platforms. We got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And it's important because we're going to post the episodes when we go live. So you can always get updates on them. And even more important than that is you can follow us on SoundCloud.com/JumpUpSupercast is our main place where we post podcasts, and you can listen to us there, or you can listen to us on wherever you want to listen to a podcast, because any podcatcher you can find us on. I'm sure we're out there. As well as we have a Twitch. We have twitch.tv/JumpUpSupercast. We actually just did Ranker Slam a couple weeks ago, where we re-ranked a couple games on the list. We each took a turn on picking a game, and we moved it. Games that we thought either we messed up the first time, or just throughout time they've gotten pushed down a little bit lower than they deserved, or maybe they got higher than they deserved. It's always a fun time. We're actually going to be doing another ranker series. Is going to be in November, and that's also going to be live on Twitch. So if you want to listen to us argue about video games and really get mad at each other, make sure you follow us, twitch.tv/JumpUpSupercast. And maybe once in a while we'll be there playing video games. We played Mario Kart before last time, so check us out. Give us a follow. And we also have the regular Jump Up Supercast every single Monday, where we just talk about video game news. We add games to the list. We talk about just different topics in video games. It's very fun. We're always there. So every single Monday, check us out. Thank you guys for joining us. But before we leave, we got to play another video game for the Jump Up Supercast Game Club. And it's my turn.
Yay.
So guys, the last episode of the podcast, we talked about games coming out soon. We did a little hype list thing.
Oh boy. I don't like where this is going.
We talked about a guy who's pretty polarizing, and his name is Hideo Kojima.
Ooh.
And I think you might know where this is going.
I know is going.
You might. I might throw a curveball at you, but I want to play what we like to call in the video game industry a Hideo Kojima joint. And that game is called Snatcher on the Sega CD.
Snatcher.
Wow.
Yeah. So you thought it was going to be Police Knots.
Yep, I thought it was going to be Police
I knew it wasn't going to be Police Knots.
Psych, I got you. I cannot get that game to work for the life of me. Exactly. But I did get Snatcher to work. I did get Snatcher to work, and I've always really wanted to play it. So that's going to be our next game.
All right.
So thanks everybody for joining me. Thanks Will, Noah, and Ills for playing video games, and everybody for listening. Go out there, play more games, and be nice.